What's the most satisfying no you've ever given to an ex who needed help? My husband paid my half-sister's rent for 2 years while telling me we couldn't afford a weekend trip to see my dying grandmother. Melanie moved in with us after her latest breakup while I was working 60-hour weeks at the hospital. From day one, everything became about protecting poor fragile Melanie from the harsh realities of adult life. When I got home from a 12-hour shift where I'd lost a patient, my husband told me to sleep in my car because Melanie needed absolute silence for her anxiety. I found out later they'd spent that day at the spa using the gift certificate he'd given me for Christmas. Every month he transferred $2,000 to her account while I coupon clipped to afford groceries. When I questioned it, he said I was being emotionally abusive to someone recovering from trauma, and that my jealousy of my younger half-sister was toxic. Melanie got a designer purse for completing 1 week at a job she quit because her manager's energy was toxic. I bought work shoes from a thrift store after mine fell apart in the middle of a shift. After months of putting up with that, for my 40th birthday, I asked for one thing, which was dinner at the Italian place where we'd had our first date. He agreed and made a reservation for the two of us. But that morning, Melanie had a crisis about potentially seeing her ex at a farmer's market she never went to. My husband canceled our reservation and spent my birthday rubbing Melanie's feet while ordering her sushi and calling her the strongest woman he knew. 2 weeks later, he took Melanie to that exact Italian restaurant because she deserved something special. But the real betrayal was when he started taking Melanie as his +1 to work events, because apparently I didn't understand how to network while Melanie had natural charisma. That night, I saw a neighborhood app post desperately needing someone to watch an ancient German shepherd. I volunteered just to escape the house that had become Melanie's personal resort. The owner was a retired prosecutor who paid me $300 for 2 days and mentioned her rich neighbors always needed pet care. Within weeks, I was making $500 a day watching dogs in mansions. My regular client Jonathan had 2 golden retrievers and left increasingly personal notes between dog feeding instructions, asking about my favorite books, and whether his dog seemed happier when I was there. Our handoff conversation stretched longer until I was staying for coffee and telling him things I'd never told anyone. When I mentioned my half-sister living with us, he said something that stuck with me. Strange how some people confuse enabling with love. 6 months in, I'd saved $30,000 and felt like a person again. Jonathan had started texting me photos of his dogs with captions like, "They missed their favorite person," and scheduling trips around my availability. The night before everything exploded, he said, "You deserve someone who chooses you first every single time, not just when your sister isn't in the room." I came home the next afternoon for medication I'd forgotten and found Melanie riding my husband in my bed while wearing the necklace my grandmother left me. The silence when they saw me was deafening. Melanie climbed off him and shouted, "He was mine first. I just let you borrow him because I felt sorry for you." My husband actually nodded and said I pushed him to this by neglecting his emotional needs. I took photos of everything, including the necklace, and drove straight to Jonathan's house where I sat on his kitchen floor with his dogs while filing for divorce. Jonathan came home early when I texted him and held my hand while I called lawyers and changed bank passwords. The divorce was quick because I'd documented every financial transfer he'd made to Melanie, who immediately ditched him and moved in with her yoga instructor who lived in a van. My husband kept a house he couldn't afford and $40,000 in credit card debt from funding Melanie's lifestyle. I moved into Jonathan's guest house, which he swore was always meant for a dog caretaker and had nothing to do with us. 8 months later, Jonathan and I were official when my ex-husband called at 2 in the morning sobbing. Melanie had told him she was pregnant with his baby, and he'd emptied his retirement fund, giving her $60,000 for baby preparations. She'd taken the money and disappeared to Costa Rica with some cryptocurrency trader she met online. The yoga instructor was now suing him for stealing his girlfriend, even though he hadn't physically seen her since she left. He was facing foreclosure and needed $15,000 or he'd be homeless. "You owe me from all those years I supported you," he actually said while I was lying in Jonathan's bed with his dogs around us. Melanie was confused, but you and I had real love. He'd chosen my sister over me every single day for 2 years and now wanted me to save him from the consequences. "Ask Melanie for rent money from Costa Rica since she's the investment you chose," I said, and hung up.